What's up, everybody? What's up? How y'all doing? It's your boy Prince Lamonia from the Shodan Dojo, and today, welcome to the second episode of Interview with the Masters. Okay, quick rundown: Interview with the Masters, where I go around Brooklyn, I go to different dojos, different places where I meet different masters of martial arts, and I do a quick interview. So, on my left, we have Shodan Ibrahim with us today. Okay, he's a master black belt in Shodan Karate. So you know what? I'll stop talking from now, and let him have the floor. So. Ibrahim, thank you for having us today.
It's nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Awesome. Okay, so let's get right into it. So, Ibrahim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been into martial arts since I was a young child. I went to an Afrocentric militant school called the Guru Sasa. And we were 5-year-olds in combat boots.
Whoa.
The school was very advanced in many of its teachings. The students were a few levels above grade compared to other New York City school children. And one of the things they taught us was martial arts. So we were learning stances and strikes and blocks in pre-kindergarten. And from there, I did some Tai Chi with an excellent Tai Chi teacher. I can't remember his name offhand. But I trained Tai Chi as a child also for about 3 years. And then kind of left for the martial arts for a good many years until I was an adult. And then it was a friend of mine that actually got me interested in the martial arts again. He is a master of ninjutsu and a school of ninjutsu called Shinryu. So I was happy that he was willing to train me and other friends in Shinryu. And over the course of 10 years, I learned and taught Shinryu ninjutsu. And after that, I left martial arts again for about a 15-year period, and then was fortunate to find the school of Nasir Yu, which taught ninjutsu as well as jujutsu and karate. And I really came to Nasir Yu for my daughter. I came in the hope that the martial arts tradition would be passed on to my daughter, and she really loved it. And is now starting to take on martial arts courses on her own. She takes courses on Saturday via remote learning with Soke Rasul Nasir, and is really enjoying it. She's just got her blue belt and is having a wonderful time with it. I just got my black belt, and I'm really appreciative of all that Nasir Yu has to teach.
Wow. Okay, guys. Okay, so you know what? Ibrahim right here just mentioned that he more or less went to 3 different schools over a span of at least 25 years. So, and from a young age, he's really been into it, So, let's double back to the first one you described. Like, give us a little in depth about the style of that first one.
Well, as a child, as a very young child, we were first exposed to stances like horse stance, cat stance, front stance, back stance, hammer strike, and basic punching and stances. Mainly as a child, it was to teach discipline, just how to stand properly, and of course how to defend yourself, and to teach mental discipline and physical self-control. And that's all that I remember from there. From the Tai Chi, I remember there were some advanced martial arts techniques as well as healing techniques, such as how to heal someone else and energy work, how to transmit thought in some of the kind of mystical martial arts. They had valid techniques, repeatable skills that involved additional senses from our traditional 5 senses, and the perception and manipulation of energy. in Shimaryu, I learned wonderful physical and psychological principles, as well as advanced energy work and extremely effective techniques. I was very impressed by Shimaryu Ninjutsu.
So for those that may not know, tell us a little more about that advanced energy work. Like, would that be something? Now, some of these guys, some of you guys, I know you're into the anime, you watch DBZ and stuff, so I know you might be thinking Kamehameha waves and stuff like that. Maybe that could be same, but break that down. Like, when you say the energy stuff, like, break it down for some of the guys who may not know what you mean.
Energy work may be simply perceiving auras, perceiving intent, interpreting thought, just being open to the senses that everyone has. These are senses that even plants have. Plants can detect thought and detect aura and respond to it. Animals can, and humans have the same innate abilities. So it's just tuning into and practicing and refining those abilities. And that's part of the martial arts as well.
I like what you said there, because when you said that humans have it too, I do feel that those of us who tend to be practitioners, what you just described, we as practitioners tend to be the ones to tap into that, because what you said kind of resonates something if someone says to me. There's a lot of things in our brains that we don't tap, that is there. Like sometimes we may say that animals have a sixth sense for picking up danger, human beings have it too, but they just don't know how to tap into it. And based on what you said, I could hypothesize that maybe we, as human beings, when we practice martial arts, we have to tap into that sense. Because I'll use myself an example. When I first started with Nasiriyu and some of the martial arts that I practice, I noticed that I become more acute to the feelings or the vibes around me.
Yeah.
So he's more or less, confirming something I hypothesize that, from practicing martial arts can actually heighten your sense and abilities and, pick up vibes and stuff.
Yeah.
Or chi, as our Soke says. Oh, and fun fact, guys, we're both students together. He outranks me, but we both study under Nasiriyu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
In some schools of martial arts, being able to detect energies and being able to manipulate energies are actually rank requirements.
Yes.
In traditional schools of ninjutsu, there's a rank test in which the sensei holds a sword over you. You may be blindfolded, and you have to detect when the sensei is about to strike and move out of the way. So that type of perception outside of our traditional five senses is actually a requirement in many schools of martial arts.
Wow, now that is something to really think about. Now, that's something to think about, because that's the kind of stuff you probably hear about in movies and stuff, but to hear that some of it is actually applied in certain things is definitely something that's an eye-opener for me, because as you mentioned that, I remember a movie I saw called The 5 Elemental Ninjas, where this guy was teaching them in ninjutsu, and he told them to follow the sound of his stick. So that actually popped in my head right there. Wow. So what caused you to actually take a break from martial arts for a little while? Like,
just life. At the time, I was going to school for engineering and struggling, having difficulty with it. My brain is more creative left brain, and I had to kind of wrap my head around the discipline needed for the mathematics. And it took me additional time to obtain my engineering degree, find work within my field, and continue on to become a professional engineer, go back to school for more graduate study, which I'm in the process of going back to school now to further my education towards my PhD.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, because I'm also an electrical engineering student myself, and calculus has been kicking my butt for a while now. So the math.
After calculus, you have differential equations, then linear algebra and continuum mechanics.
Jesus Christ.
You have a lot of fun to look forward to
Jesus
as an
Christ,
electrical
man.
engineer.
It took me twice to actually pass calculus, so math is definitely, calculus got a hold on me right there.
But some of it gets easier. Calculus, pre-calculus I found it to be a little bit more difficult than calculus. Calculus is challenging.
We'll scratch that from the record and bring that back. Alright, so who's in about calculus?
Calculus is challenging. Differential equations is probably one of the most challenging because there's a lot of empirical techniques that you just have to do to really get the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
And continuum mechanics is once you have calculus and differential equations down, a lot of continuum mechanics is just applied logic.
Okay. 1 second. I'm definitely going to be editing all this wonderful sound effect out. Added bonus, guys, we get the awesome background music. Shout out to Lauren Hill. You a Lauren Hill fan?
Yeah.
She was the truth back in the day. Man.
I found on the 70s and 80s.
I grew up in the 90s, you know, I love that time. And I love the oldies. I'm not gonna lie, I do love the oldies and stuff like that. You know, you bet some of the stuff I hear today, they call me like an old soul for the most part.
Yeah.
No soul, young daddy.
And another thing,
yeah.
I find that martial art attracts a lot of very disciplined, very successful people. It just so happens that one of the other teaching black belts in Nasser U is also an engineer, computer scientist. And yeah.
Yeah. I know who he's talking about.
And recently, one of the recent trainees that trained under our direct Brooklyn teacher, Hanshi, chemical engineer. And also some of the students that I've trained actually as a Shima Ryu instructor, they went on to become very successful professionals,
Yes.
Business owners, professional, worldwide renowned models, just wonderful young people doing amazing things with their lives and with their families and communities.
Yes.
So martial arts has a lot of benefits outside of the art itself. The parents that send their children to martial arts tend to be on point and involved in their lives in other extracurricular activities that are of benefit to them in the long term.
I do agree.
It's a great community to belong to.
I do agree because I did a previous interview, and martial arts can definitely help you more or less keep your head and keep your cool and keep your focus.
Yes.
Like in the last interview, I did mention that there's certain times where you react to things in a certain way, but being a martial artist, it keeps you more level-headed. So if there's something going on, like say an accident or something, and feel maybe hysterical, you being a martial artist, in my humble opinion, and myself as an example, you can be the one to actually keep you cool and assess the situation and react accordingly instead of being the one jumping in over the others.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate martial arts that, you know, the discipline, and it kind of keeps you calm, whereas, you know, you won't be over exaggerating in certain situations that could be very scary.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I really do appreciate about martial arts.
And let me ask you a question.
Yep.
How has that discipline and that reserve helped you in your endeavors as an emergency medical technician?
It helped me save a man's life. Not to brag or anything, it did help me save a man's life. I was at work at one time. I can't mention the name, but I was at work at one time, and there was a certain gentleman. He couldn't like eat solid foods, more or less, and through that but he's not really in the sane of mind. So he thought he could still eat normal food, but he couldn't. So he so happened to eat some of that food, and he was choking. He was turning blue and everything. So when everyone realized what was going on, I jumped into action because people were scared because he's kind of like, you know, they got those high-profile people. He was one of those, and he couldn't afford to go see heaven. So I jumped in. I started doing what needed to be done, having to move. I kept myself calm, even though people were screaming my ears off. So I do appreciate martial arts for teaching me how to be calm under stressful situations. Because had I not gotten that training, I may not be able to save that man's life. So that's like a major thing that kind of made me realize I really do appreciate martial arts for keeping the discipline, help me keep a sane in mind. I don't overreact to stuff like I used to before I practice. So it also helped develop my character as a man, help my character, you know, help my more or less masculinity, keep my masculine frame as a man. What do you think?
I agree. I've had this discussion with other male friends of mine, and the role of a man in the family and community is primarily to provide security. And we're talking about security on all fronts. We're talking emotional security, financial security, physical protective security of the household.
I agree.
And that's a very important role of men. And it's a very important right role of men in our society.
I do agree with that 100%. I can definitely back you up on that and agree with that 100% because it's always going to be the man's role to protect because the stronger one protects the pack. The lion protects the pack. The lion they go hunt the food and stuff. He sets the parameters and stuff like that. So the stronger ones protect the pack. So despite what may ever be going on, where people may think the roles may be reversed because of certain movements and stuff, it's still a man's role to be a protector and provider. But however, it's his role to actually pick the right one to protect and provide. Don't go around doing it for the wrong person. But it's still your role as a man if you're going to start a family and be a leader for your family to protect and provide and be the one that's level-headed that anyone can come to with anything. So, again, being a martial artist now, I was very immature before. And you probably remember when I first came to Nasira U. He was there when I first came to that organization. I was all excited, jumping all over the place, trying to act like some of the stuff I saw in the movie until when I finally got it down for our teachers. I finally got that discipline, and I feel that it did help me, be more of a man.
Yeah.
Kind of like how some people may say they want to go to the army to learn how to be a man. I went to Nasira U, our school, to learn how to be a man, a more masculine man, and not act so silly all the time.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate martial arts for that. So Ibrahim, so when you were growing up, what was it like growing up in your youth, like junior youth, the time of your youth, like growing up in the time period that you did? Do you think how did martial arts help you navigate those waters in terms of maybe avoiding some of the stigmas that may have chased you as a brother?
Well, I look back now and I realize that in many ways I was very privileged, very fortunate in my youth. I had two parents that both were college graduates. My grandmother had a farm in Pennsylvania. And so martial arts gave me the confidence to meet and befriend people from all different backgrounds. In Pennsylvania, we were the only African Americans for many, many miles around. And yet the other children and the community just opened their arms to us. It was Mikasa, Sukasa. It was a very different time, a very different situation. It was a time in which if you were walking along the road and a stranger was driving along the road by you, they were socially obliged to offer you a ride, and you were socially obliged to take it. We didn't lock our doors at night. And even though we didn't see our neighbors, but by the smoke from their chimneys, we still somehow had a sense of what was going on with everyone as a community. So, yeah, it was a very different time. Martial arts helped keep me on the straight and narrow, pursuing my passion as an engineer, as an inventor. And it helped keep me together, keep my mind sane during times of emotional difficulty, during times of financial difficulty. Just helped me keep it together in general and mature over time. Still learning, still maturing. Even now at 50 years old, martial arts is still a wonderful practice that I enjoy each time I participate in.
You hear that, audience? This brother said he's 50 years old and he doesn't even look more than 35. I told you guys, martial arts is the founding of youth. And interesting to know, this is the month of July. This is July 24th, 2020, and we both share the same birthday month. And I kind of picked up that he said emotion. Now, my beautiful fiance is into astrology, so shout out to her for that. And I've kind of gone into it to myself, and I do realize that us as Cancers, we tend to be more emotional, have emotional reactions to stuff because we're water signs. I mean, water consumes what's around it in terms of, like the Bruce Lee analogy, you put water in a cup, it becomes a cup and all that. So we're very acute and very tuned into other people's feelings and emotions. So sometimes even me, from what I've understood, I can be acute to someone's emotions. I can actually take it on. And from what you said and what you described, I kind of saw myself there because sometimes I take on stuff, emotions of others that was not warranted. So even being a martial artist, when you said more level-headed and stuff, I think it applies to me also because what I took in that stuff kind of helped me, like, keep my head level. That way I don't really let my surroundings affect me as much as it did before. In terms of if someone's bringing bad juju and it's like ill intent and it's like I'm feeling it and it's like I'm not gonna let it affect my day anymore like it used to. So if someone's walking around, their head down, they're like, when I feel that, I'm like, okay, do you have a good morning? Before I'll be like, you okay, what's up, blah, blah, blah. So I see what you mean by that. Most definitely. So also what I did pick up, you said also is that the martial arts community, like they welcomed you, and even though you look different from them, right?
Yeah, that was not a martial arts community. That was just the community in the county in Pennsylvania where my grandmother had her farm and we summered as children. Yeah, but I think martial arts and other extracurricular activities gave my brother and I the confidence to not be so shy and interact and make friends and approach people that we might have not have felt that confident in approaching otherwise.
I like what you just said there. Although any of those who saw my previous video when I was introducing myself, I did say I was a shy guy at first, but when I started practicing martial arts, I started being more out there. As I go more out there, just talking to people, not being afraid, because for me, I kind of develop a level of cockiness, And what about you? Do you ever feel like you maybe develop a little cockiness at first, but you're humble now?
Yeah. I think my cockiness time was in second grade. Second and third grade, those are my fighting years. But luckily by fourth grade, I had most of it out of my system.
Nice, I like that. I kind of developed some cockiness, so I was like, what? Man, I ain't worried about you. I know karate. You probably see some elements in that in the media, but that did take a turn too. You learn to humble yourself and just like be easy to protect, not to hurt. Remember, martial arts, what's the first rule? It's for
protection.
And also self-defense.
Yeah, and for health as well.
Yeah.
As a martial artist, the most important person that we have to overcome and defeat is ourselves. We have to overcome and defeat our own ego, sometimes even our own perspective.
Yes.
Learning that other perspectives are useful and valid. Different people perceive things in different ways. Some people perceive things from a visual standpoint.
Yes.
Some from an auditory standpoint. Some by feeling. Some by emotion. And every method of perception is valid. It's learning that and learning to value other people's different modes of perception and expression.
Yes.
And all of that is part of martial arts.
Most definitely. You know what? I like what the brother Ibrahim just said. And you know what, guys? This has been a really interesting interview. So right here, we met a brother right there. He's 50 years old. He don't even look. He look like he's 35. And he's been practicing from a long time. From childhood, and he practiced on a few different systems. So I have much respect for this brother right next to me, and I learned things that I didn't even know before. So thank you for giving me this interview. Thank you so much, brother Ibrahim. Anything you want to say before we leave?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to this interview with your lovely fiance.
Behind the camera.
Yes. And your soon-to-be son.
Yes. Sitting right down there. Alright guys, well, that'll do it for today. So once again, it's your boy Prince Ammonia from the Shodan Ibrahim Dojo, with brother Ibrahim Tor, a legend in the martial arts community in my book. And you know what? This brother has taught me a lot today. So, brother Ibrahim, us. Alright guys, so this has been a Salmonian production. And once again, us, and have a good day.